Lone Wolf and Cub is officially the next title to join Dark Horse's Deluxe Edition manga line, and here's everything that you need to know about this extremely important and exciting news. So earlier today, Dark Horse, through Crunchyroll, though spoiled several hours earlier by Amazon listings, announced that the next manga in their Deluxe Edition hardcover line would in fact be the long-awaited Lone Wolf and Cub. This has basically been requested since the line was first announced back in, I believe it was 2019, that they announced it, that Berserk was going to be the first title. And since then, every single title that has come after that, Hellsing, Blade of the Immortal, At the Mountains of Madness, Trigun and Trigun Maximum, and the most recently yet to be released, Planets by Makoto Yukimura, every single time there is a flood of people asking, what about Lone Wolf and Cub? When will Lone Wolf and Cub happen? Why haven't you done Lone Wolf and Cub yet? And finally it is here. And I can say that not just was this greatly requested from what I was seeing, but I actually took a poll a couple years ago, 3 years ago or so, to see what everyone's most wanted titles in this format are. And Lone Wolf and Cub, far and beyond almost everything else, had come in second place, only to be surpassed by Gantz. But Lone Wolf and Cub had like at least 3 times the number of votes as the title that came in third. So this is a very, very heavily requested release, and I am very excited to see this happen because, in my opinion, this series, for as important of a series as it is, and I'm not just talking about like how I feel or how you feel about the story or about the artwork or whatever, but genuinely, this is one of the most culturally significant titles in the entire literary canon of the manga medium that we have available in English, if not at the very top, at least top 5. And it has never gotten a really proper release to reflect that. The first release that it ever got was in these pocket-sized books. This is Path of the Assassin, but same trim size as these. Tiny volumes, and then the only thing after that we've gotten are these thick omnibus paperbacks, 700 pages, uncomfortable to read without worrying about causing damage to the spine, which mine has a little bit there that you might not be able to see on the picture there. But neither of these, and you can see more like the size of those pocket books, neither of these is really a release befitting a title of this importance, a title of this cultural significance. And so it's crazy to me that it took this long to get here, but we are here and I am extremely happy. So let's look into what the Amazon listings say. So far, 2 volumes are up on Amazon. The first volume is listed to be released December 9th of this year, 2025, and the description is as follows. The acclaimed genre-defining samurai epic manga by Kazuo Koike and Goseki Kojima is presented in a new deluxe oversized hardcover edition and is now oriented in right-to-left reading format as originally published in Japan. And that's significant because neither of the previous releases were presented right to left. They were always flipped left to right. The groundbreaking samurai masterpiece of beauty, fury, and power, Ogami Ito, once the shogun's executioner, has fallen from grace after false accusations by a rival clan. With his wife murdered and with his 3-year-old son to protect, he chooses the path of the Ronin, the masterless samurai. Together, the lone wolf and his cub wander feudal Japan, but all roads will lead them to a single destination, vengeance. This deluxe edition features new cover with grain texture, burnishing, and foil stamping, oversized 7x10-inch format, and a ribbon bookmark. And this collects Lone Wolf and Cub Volumes 1, 2, and stories from Volume 3. Has 720 pages per Amazon, and will have a cover price of about $55, which you can look at that as being either they've increased the deluxe edition price by about 10%, adding $5 because of inflation, or they increased the price by about 10% because this is over 700 pages, and on average these tend to be around 600 pages, with some being larger and some being smaller. The second volume comes out, it is scheduled right now to come out in March of 24th of 2026, and is listed to contain the rest of Volume 3 as well as Volumes 4 and 5. Those are referring to the original 28-volume paperback series. which was then translated into the 12-volume omnibus editions. So from the page count and the description, we can see that these hardcovers are going to be the exact way that the material was collected across the omnibus paperback editions. So that said, this will be a 12-volume hardcover set. Now, you can look at this and take it at kind of the base level and see that this is going to be the same content, but for $30 more per volume than the $25 cover price paperback omnibus editions. And I know there are some people who will look at this like that. However, I think it's really important to consider that these are two very different releases that are intended for very different audiences. And on one end of the spectrum, you have a prestige premium format hardcover release, first time ever in English in right to left format, with all the bells and whistles. And then on the complete opposite side of the spectrum, you've got these cheap paperback editions that are meant to be more bang for your buck. They're value editions. And I think the problem is not necessarily that the hardcovers are overpriced. I've never felt that way, especially as someone who collects like Marvel and DC hardcovers, which are like $100 to $150 cover price. I've never felt that Dark Horse's manga were overpriced. I think the problem in this case is that Dark Horse, for whatever reason, has never released a really decent normal edition. We have the premium edition and we have the value edition, but we don't have a good standard edition right in the middle. And I think that, and this is just an idea that I'm throwing out there, I think that Dark Horse would do well to cater to those who want something for this series but don't really care for hardcovers or the large trim size. Basically, my idea would be re-release these, the pocket books, but in the same trim size as the omnibus editions. Easier to read, 28 volumes, you can probably slap a $15 price tag on those. And I think that they would sell really well to the general audience who is turned off by the unwieldy, thick bricks of the paperback omnis, but who aren't necessarily into the massive hardcovers. Now, on that note, if you are completely new to Lone Wolf and Cub, if you've never read the series, if you've never seen any of the movies or anything like that, you are completely new to this franchise. I do not recommend going into this blind. I honestly don't recommend going into any premium format releases blind, whether it's manga or comics or whatever, because it's a lot of money to invest on something that you might not enjoy. I think that if you're new to this, I would honestly recommend maybe picking up the first paperback omnibus. Like I said, cover price is $25. I'm sure you can easily find it for much cheaper online, Amazon, eBay, etc. And if you wind up not enjoying it, it's a lot easier of a pill to swallow than dropping a larger amount of cash on a $55 hardcover and then not enjoying it. Alternatively, you could check out the movies. I haven't double checked for myself, but I think that the movies, or at least some of them, are available to stream on Amazon Prime, on HBO Max, and through the Criterion channel. So if you already have access to those, that would be a really fair option to look at. If you don't have access, getting a subscription to a streaming service or renting to stream a movie for like a day or whatever is significantly cheaper still than investing in an expensive hardcover. So I would say probably go that route, so you can try the series out. You can try Lone Wolf and Cub out, see if you like it before deciding to drop money on this, because I know there are a lot of people who are enticed by like the premium format. I've seen this happen a lot with previous manga releases and with hardcover like omnibus comic releases. It happens all the time, and I always warn people, make smarter decisions. Do your research, do what you can to find out, read digital copies, whatever you can to find out if it's something for you before you actually invest into it. Me personally, I've been waiting for this. I felt like this was eventually something that was going to happen. It's just a matter of whatever's going on in the background that's keeping them from doing it is definitely, once that gets cleared up, then they'll go ahead and do it. And we did have a little bit of public information about why this hadn't happened yet. Some years ago, I don't know exactly when or at which convention it was, but at a Dark Horse panel, someone did ask if they had plans to ever release Lone Wolf and Cub in this format. And the answer they got, paraphrasing, was basically, we can't do that right now because we don't have access to the artwork in the proper size. So the biggest format that they could release it in at the time was these paperbacks. And if they tried to stretch the artwork to fit the deluxe edition pages, it would just cause it to have a lot of loss in quality, be very pixelated, and that's not something that you would want to release for the public to consume. So that's kind of the basic of why it couldn't happen. Now, there's always more going on behind the scenes, and in this case, I know if you are familiar with international releases, you probably know that there are deluxe edition releases already in other countries, specifically in Italy and in Germany. I believe Panini releases both of those. They have very nice looking editions of this series in oversized format, close to the same trim size as Dark Horse. So it's definitely something that was possible, but whatever was going on at the time, they didn't have access to the files that they needed. They have it now. Good news for us. I know we had to wait a little bit, but we're finally getting this series in a format that really, I think, lends itself to the prestige of this title itself. So, Lone Wolf and Cub, I could not be more excited for this. I am very pumped to get my hands on a copy of Volume 1, hopefully later this year, hopefully nothing gets delayed. And like I said, this should be a 12-volume, or this will be a 12-volume hardcover release, so it should take, if they're doing one volume every 3 months, as is suggested by the distance between volumes 1 and 2, we should see this line wrap up in about 3 years. So it'll be an exciting 3 years coming with these really fantastic looking hardcovers. I cannot wait to see them in person because each and every one of these has always looked good on with the digital sample art, but then in person, when you have the in-hand video and pictures, it always looks significantly better. So I cannot wait to see how this one turns out. And I've mentioned the $55 cover price. That is for US dollars, and when it comes out, you'll probably be able to find it at some stores for cheaper than that. Crunchyroll, InStockTrades.com, Alibris tend to always have these things at pretty decent discounts. But if you're outside of the US, you can always shop at the sponsor of my channel, good segue right there, the sponsor of my channel, Walt's Comic Shop, will take care of you if you are in the EU, and if you want to use code The Omnibus Collector at checkout for your first order of €40 or more, you'll get free shipping within the EU. So big thanks to Walt's Comic Shop for continuing to support the channel, and yeah, check them out for those of you in the EU that want to get a copy of this book. They have great selection, great prices, great shipping, great customer service, all the following, waltzcomicshop.com, and again, use that code, The Omnibus Collector. So wrapping up, in conclusion here, this is an extremely important announcement and something that I am very excited about on multiple levels. Lone Wolf and Cub is a series that has long deserved to be released in this type of format, and it is very exciting to finally see it get announced. I can't wait to get it myself, and I'm hoping that all of y'all are just as excited as I am. But I am a little bit gluttonous, a little bit selfish, and I am already thinking for myself, what's the next title that Dark Horse should put in these deluxe edition hardcovers? And I want to know your opinion as well. So in the comments, please sound off with your #1 pick of the next Dark Horse manga that should get the deluxe edition treatment. Are you in the camp of people who voted for Gantz on the survey that I did a few years ago? Are you hoping that What's Michael might get the hardcover release? Or maybe you want something to be brought back like 3x3 Eyes or You're Under Arrest. Let me know in the comments below what your #1 pick is, and I will see you all on the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Peace out.